Welcome everyone to the Work It podcast, where EQ meets IQ. Today we're sponsored by Work It Training Workplace Success, and you can visit us at workitcareers.com for more information on how you can discover and awaken your true career path for personal fulfillment. Hello everybody, I'm Lori, and I am your host today for the Work It podcast. And today we have a wonderful guest by the name of Cara Broadus. And for those individuals that are wrestling fans, you will absolutely love this podcast because Cara represents a pioneerism for women in the girls wrestling arena. So I'm very thrilled to have her as my guest today. So welcome, Cara.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm real happy to be here. If you grew up at all in the Connecticut youth part of wrestling, you've probably known me. I was a little redheaded girl running around like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to meet everyone ever.
Totally Irish. I mean, and one day I'm going to do the podcast with video so you can see. But Cara is totally, she's my good luck charm, being the redhead that she is. I met Cara back in 2015, and I was telling her before this podcast started recording that out of 1,000 students, I've not had anyone that scored similar scores as I do. And when she came up to identify her strengths, I told her that she was going to sleep like a baby that night because the energy of 20 people in a room and her being able to be on stage was just exactly what she needed to refill herself. So here we are 4 years later, almost 4 years later. And I cannot wait to have you explain your passion and when it started and, you know, where it's taken you since I last saw you. Because literally it's been almost 4 years since I last saw you. And I'm excited to have you here today. So maybe take us on a journey of how wrestling became part of your life.
So I was like 7, 8, and my brother was like, okay, for some odd reason was going through my backpack, and I had a flyer for a wrestling club I had no interest in. It was 2008 because the Summer Olympics had just been on, and I really wanted to be a gymnast at this point. Don't have the patience for that. Just not happening.
Too technical?
Too technical. They want me to keep repeating the same things. It's just not going to work. But then my brother was like, come on, Cara, try wrestling. It'll be like something we do together. I'm like, why would I do this? It was 4 guys in a room. And I forget where, but it was like a little living room. Wasn't interested, but there was a kid who needed a practice partner, and somehow I end up on the mat helping this tiny kid practice, and then I went down a rabbit hole where 10 years later I'm still wrestling. So
So you can thank your brother for motivating you to wrestling.
Yeah, no, he definitely believed I could do it, and there were times I'm like, this sucks, and he's like, no, it's fun. I'm like, you're a crazy person.
So how old were you then?
I was 8. 8
years old. And at that point, now you live in a small town of Terryville, Connecticut.
Good old Terryville.
And this podcast is going to be aired all around the world. So they are going to know about small Terryville, Connecticut, and how Cara Broadus is, born to be a pioneer in the girls wrestling industry. And it's an industry that I'm assuming over the last 4 years that you've learned a lot more about, because today you are on the USA National Wrestling Team. And here you are, age 18. And still on that same path that you were at age 8. And it hasn't changed.
No, I always really liked moving and going out and trying new things. We had trees in our backyard, and my brother and I would just compete to see how high we would go. And all of that type, I was never really a kid to sit still. So, I was always into sports. I did soccer. I did gymnastics for a very brief time. And then as I got more and more into wrestling, it really just felt right. Because, it was one-on-one, and I didn't have to say, oh, it's not my fault because I didn't have the team to support me or whatever. I really just liked going out, it being a one-on-one thing, and seeing what would happen.
Awesome. So after seeing that flyer, when did you actually join a wrestling team? Was it in school?
It was a local club that was starting up because the coach's nephew or grandson wanted to wrestle, and they were like, okay, let's see who else might be interested in this. And my brother had seen the wrestling NCAAs on ESPN somehow. And he was like, oh, yeah, that looks like fun. I want to do that. He had no interest, but, I was sitting in the back of the room because my mom had nothing else to do with me, an 8-year-old at the time.
Uh-huh.
So I was watching, and then the coach had me do something with the dummy, and the kid needed a practice partner, and I joined, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. So today at age 18, you're a senior, technically in high school. You're being homeschooled for the last couple of years so that you could continue with this technical training, right?
Yeah.
With the USA national wrestling team. I want you to take me back to when you joined the Connecticut team at age 14. What was that like?
I was really nervous because the Connecticut national team mostly focuses on doing freestyle, and I hadn't really done that to that point because there's actually 3 styles of wrestling. What you see in the NCAAs and what you grow up doing is folk style, and then there's Greco and freestyle. Mm-hmm. And to go to this huge tournament I had always wanted to go to, which was Fargo, you had to join this team, and I was really nervous because I didn't really know anyone, and as I get comfortable, I talk a lot, but at first I don't talk at all. And it was a new coach. So yeah, I was nervous, but I was really excited for all the stuff I would be able to do there.
So that's Fargo, North Dakota?
Yeah, Fargo, North Dakota is the city it's held in. It has the longest, most ridiculous name. Nobody ever calls it that. Uh-huh. So Did you make it? I did go to the tournament. It was a lot of fun. I did cadets and juniors, which in the most simplest of terms to define it is a cadet is your first 2 years of high school, and your junior, your second 2 years of high school. As a girl, because they don't have girls Greco at this point, they're still working on getting that going. Actually, the first girl actually placed in Greco this past year at Fargo. And then, so I went there. I took 5th in juniors and 7th in cadet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then life changed.
Yeah. I really threw myself into this new style because I wasn't really wrestling with high school, and it was an entirely new experience, but I like it more than I like folk style in all reality. Folk style is now slow to me.
Okay. So you're finding the style that works for you.
Yeah.
And, like I mentioned earlier, Cara scored with the Work It system, which is an insight inventory test that I've used for forever. And Cara is definitely destined to change something in the world that needs change. And from what we're hearing today, it sounds like there needs to be more girls being educated on the different sports that are available to them, which, going back years ago, wrestling was never really considered a girl's sport.
Yeah.
So I commend you for being a pioneer in this area. And I also commend you for not only, starting with that flyer at age 8 and helping a friend who needed a partner, but then joining a club and then eventually competing enough to make the Connecticut national team at age 14, and then taking that leap of faith to get onto the USA team. So what does that mean when you're on the USA national wrestling team? What does that mean?
I was so ecstatic because when I was in middle school, all I would do is I would sit in front of a computer for days on end and I would watch Fargo. And there were so many girls that I looked up to doing this. And then when I'm in the same position, I was just so thankful for anyone. And the tournament I did go to, it's down in Texas. It's referred to as Body Bar. I believe the technical name is the Women Age Group Nationals. We also don't call it that. Don't ask me why we don't call anything by its real name.
You're going to streamline all of that in your pioneering years. So, Cara, what exactly does it mean to be on the USA National Wrestling Team?
It is such an honor for me because, there's so many great girls across the country that all came down to Texas to all try to get these 3 spots on this team. and I was so excited. But it was also a bittersweet moment for me because the first time I made the team, I was wrestling one of my best friends, and it was like one of us was going to, one of us was going to lose and one of us was going to win. And I had to put that aside and kind of just wrestle. That was so hard for me.
And who won?
I ended up winning, but
Are you still friends?
We are still friends.
Okay.
We're still really close.
And did she make the USA wrestling team or did she not?
She made it the past few years. Actually, this past year, she went down to the Pan American Games and won what is called the Golden Boot down there, which is the Outstanding Wrestler Award. So I was I was so happy for her.
Yeah, and that's your personality. You are actually happy for anyone who is happy doing what they're doing in life.
Yeah.
And for people who don't have passion with life, it frustrates people like us.
Yeah.
We're very high EQ. And, when this podcast was created, it was just really to bring out the qualities of people having high EQs versus high IQs. The people that have high IQs are usually the ones that are destined to be lifelong learners by the book. You and I are actually destined to create something that will be documented later for other people to study.
Yeah.
And you're doing that in a girls wrestling arena.
Yeah, I love just to go out and I love just to try new things. I will try pretty much anything once. I don't really complain that much, I don't think.
Yeah, you're an experiential learner. That's what that's called.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, some experiences and some don't.
Well, you dust the dirt off and you get up and you try again.
Yeah.
So since the age of 15, you've been on this USA national wrestling team. What areas of the country have you visited to get additional training?
I've been to, I think at one point I counted and it was like 26 or so states. I've been pretty much all the way up and down our coast of the country. I just this past summer got to go to California. I've been to Ohio.
So how many students under the age of 18 can say that they've traveled to 26 states in the United States? I know I haven't done that. So you're bringing experiential learner to a whole new level for me. And I commend you for that. Now, when you're on the USA national wrestling team, do you have to pay to be on this team, or once you make it, it's paid by an organization?
It's somewhat paid by the organization. You're expected to go to a certain number of camps, and you go and you get training with all the national team coaches, but then you also get to travel to all over the place. Like some girls have gone to Sweden, to Germany. I got to go to Japan this past, like a little over a year ago.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So how was that training in Japan?
That was crazy because Japan has some of the best women's wrestling out there. They had one lady, I believe her name is said Sayori Yoshida. Mm-hmm. She had the longest winning streak of any wrestler ever. She had 16 straight world titles. She had 3 straight Olympic gold. She only lost in 2016 to Helen Maroulis. So, like, going over there and experiencing how much women's wrestling is out there, especially compared to the U.S., is absolutely insane.
So that was life-changing for you. I could see it in your eyes that learning about people around the world that have the same passion as you do makes you hungry to either improve your scores or to be more like them, right?
Yeah. I mean, she had to do something right to get 16 world titles. And it speaks to a certain amount of like drive and dedication that she was able to do that for that long. And it's something I still aspire to.
Is she 18 as well?
She started young, but now she's retired. She was like 30 something.
Okay.
When she finished, because she was on the senior tour.
Any plans this year, being still a little early in 2019? Any travel plans?
Not that I can think of right now.
Any camps that are required of you to be on the team?
Can't think of the places because we get to go all over the country. Usually there's one in Colorado Springs, which is where the OTC is. And I'm hoping to go on a tour this summer to Spain and Italy. And I finally get to use what little Spanish knowledge I have because I've been to like 2 different countries. And because I also got to go to Hungary and I still haven't used my Spanish. And I'm like, why did they teach us this? They tell us we're going to use this.
Well, I know you're going to use your Spanish. I know you are. So let's talk about coaches and mentors that have influenced you over the years. And you know, it's now 7 years since you saw that flyer in your brother's book bag. 7 years have gone by, 26 states. And how many countries have you visited?
I've been all over the U.S. I've been to Canada a little bit. I got to go to Hungary and I've gotten to visit Japan twice.
Okay. So that's 3 countries outside of the U.S. that you visited in a matter of 7 years from opening your brother's book bag, seeing a flyer.
No, he opened my book bag. He was the nosy
so
one.
it was a flyer in your book bag.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you see how life can change for somebody just from that one flyer?
Yeah.
And it's taking you on a journey that is going to be incredible. And it is incredible. And it's you know, I can't wait to read your book someday. So let's talk about mentors. You know, you've had mentors growing up. Let's start with number 1.
My mom. I love my mom so much. She went through a lot because there was times like when I was in 8th grade that she would drive one day to like New York and then the next day we would come home and it would be like midnight and then the next day I'd be like, Mom, I need to go PA. And she'd be like, okay, hop in the car. It was the point where my dad's like, where are you guys going? There has to be something wrong with her car.
As long as she didn't say we're going to Hungary.
I mean,
So your mom definitely has been someone who saw the passion in you, wanted to support you in any way that she could, and she found a way to do it.
She supported me full force in everything I ever wanted to do, even though she knew I would hate gymnastics. She's like, you want to go try it? You can go try it. And then 6 months later, she's like, do you want to continue? I'm like, no, I don't. And yeah, she loves me so unconditionally and she helps so much and I love her so much.
Well, she definitely, you know, not all parents would drop everything to support a child's passion. So your mom definitely is someone that obviously doesn't live in fear because, you know, having a girl go into a wrestling team and the dangers of getting hurt, there's a lot of parents that live in fear. And they would say, I would never let my daughter do that. Your mom was like, if that's what you want to do, we're going to do it.
Oh, gosh, I had to give her so many heart attacks because my first match ever is literally me getting picked up and put on my head.
Oh.
So she was like, okay, I think I'm ready for this. I've had a son doing this for like a year. I should be fine. She watches me. She's like, I don't know, I can do this. And I'm like, but I love it. And she's like, okay, we'll figure this out.
So here you are. So that definitely mom deserves a huge amount of recognition for supporting her daughter in a sport that's dangerous and definitely out of the ordinary for girls.
Oh, yeah.
And definitely number 1 for me too. I would say. So what other coaches like in your earlier years help support you?
I had some great coaches just growing up. One of my favorites, who often got mistaked as my dad because he was also a ginger, was Coach Kennedy. He was so sweet, but like he also knew like when you need to crack down because some coaches are just too nice and I can't do that. Yeah.
So you respected the coaches that knew how to play hard and work hard.
Oh yeah, like you obviously can't be mean all the time. Then nobody's gonna actually like you and nobody's gonna want to listen to you. They'll listen to you out of fear, but.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've had so many great coaches. Another coach I absolutely love was Coach Powers. It was when I was starting to transition away from the club that was just in my own little hometown, and I wanted to go wrestle some different people. And he was up in Enfield, Connecticut at the time. He has since retired, which broke my heart. I loved him so much.
You still keep in touch?
A little bit. I used to see him like every day, so like now anything is like not as much as I once did. But
yeah, I think being a coach just in general, and losing contact with your students is something that is hard. But when a student kind of reconnects with their coach, it actually helps them understand their purpose in life, especially in retirement.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference. So I strongly encourage you to reconnect with your coaches.
He was so nice, and he could run a practice. You would almost hate when he had this whistle, and he would whistle every time he wanted you to do a move, and it would be like every 10 seconds. And I'm like, just stop.
But he pushed you. He pushed you to new levels.
Oh yeah, he definitely made me want to work harder and do everything that I can.
Awesome.
Be the best I can.
So you mentioned Coach Powers, right?
Yeah.
And then was there another coach?
There was 2 or 3 more. The coach I'm with now is Coach Knapp, and he knows what he wants, and he can be very detail oriented. And
and we are not.
There's times I like to do things a little bit sideways to the way he likes to do things, and I can drive him a little bit crazy. But I also know when just to listen. I'm like, okay, I know you're right. You know you're driving me nuts because what? I'm like, it's working now, and he's always like, it won't work forever.
And so obviously he's tested your ability to trust his words, and he's proven himself right. So therefore, there's a bigger trust.
Yeah, no, I trust him. I'm like, I have the most trouble like when something's working. I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of person.
Well, that the girls on wrestling teams, that's something that is not fully developed yet. It's not out there. So not that it's broken. It's just that you want to enhance, an education about it, and that it's a sport that is available to everybody.
It is. Literally, you will see, normally you see it more with guys. You see like guys who are like 5 foot nothing and are like walking sticks to like 6.5 foot fully grown men doing this sport. So it's not one of those sports that's just limited to one person or like one body type. And like the more people that get into it, it just makes the sport all the better.
Absolutely. And look at the travel opportunities you have with this sport. So I am thrilled to have you as my guest today, and coming from a very small town and being able to take yourself out of that small town to explore and experience the world around this small town of Terryville, Connecticut is a great thing. Your roots are always in your hometown, obviously, but to be able to experience things that are outside and bring it back is a huge, huge accomplishment. So being on the USA National Wrestling Team, what's the next step for Cara Broadus?
I want to make it on the U.S. World Team, and that would open up some more doors. But I also really want to go to college. As much as I love it here in Connecticut, I want to leave.
So which state intrigues you?
A lot of the colleges are down south, which is just fine by me. I'll go where it's warm.
So any course of study that you're interested in?
Sports medicine. I want to do sports medicine and then parlay that into a doctorate in physical therapy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So from a competition standpoint, you talked about your idol in Japan, who's now retired. Where do you see yourself from a competition standpoint as you're being a college student and a game changer in the world?
I just love competition. So like anything where it's like a competition, I'm like down for it. I love to go out and compete. So
you'll be enrolling in competitions?
Oh yeah.
Still?
Whenever I can.
Okay. Is this sport an Olympic sport for girls yet or no?
It is. It's not an NCAA sport. We have our own separate, I want to say, organization. It's called the WCWA. It's the Women's Collegiate Wrestling Association. Finally, an acronym that makes sense. But it is an Olympic sport. I believe it was made an Olympic sport in 2004.
So do you see yourself signing up for that?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try for 2020, which would be in Tokyo, Japan, which I love Tokyo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw that in your eyes that's definitely in your future.
Yeah.
So any training that you have to do in order to get on that Olympic team?
Yeah, it's just a lot of training hard, and you definitely have to be at the right weight. And it's really whoever is the best on any given day. That's what I love so much about the sport. It's not written in stone that like one team is the best or anything. It's like one person and how much will they have to get better.
When would you be able to be notified if you made the team or not?
You would go to several tournaments, and then now they're actually making more of a wrestling season. So they have a set of matches. It will be, I think, 2 girls and 3 guys wrestling off, and you have to win 2 out of 3 matches, and then you would be on the World or Olympic team.
And does that start soon?
I believe this year's World team stuff may have already started, but I would just try to wrestle as much as I could.
So you're not too late for this competition?
No.
All right, so we can all, as we listen to this podcast, cheer you on to potentially making that Olympic team and representing Terryville, Connecticut in a great way and the state of Connecticut in a more awesome way. So we wish you lots of luck. And if there was any advice that you could give out there to girls in sports in general, what advice would you give?
Don't listen to guys because they're jerks, at least. No, some of the guys can be jerks, but, if they're willing to give you a chance, definitely listen to them. But, don't be afraid to try something new or try something that you think scares you, because you could end up loving it, and whatever that is, because a lot of girls, when they're thinking about a martial art, they go into judo or jujitsu or something like that. So just try anything that looks interesting, even if it might scare you. Just my advice in life.
It's kind of like what you said earlier. You tried gymnastics, but it was not something that made you happy.
No.
So you tried it and then you backed away from it. And that's, I think, what you're saying to everyone out there is, it's not going to hurt to try. Yeah. And if it's not your thing, then you back away. I think from a parent standpoint, you lucked out. You've got a mom who is definitely, she has your back, and she's willing to sacrifice some things to bring you to that next level, and then the next level after that. She's got a powerhouse daughter, and sometimes those powerhouse daughters can really be a lot of work for moms.
I'm sure I am.
Because you got a lot to accomplish in the world.
Yeah.
And I still can't get over the fact that you've visited 26 different places around the country and 3 countries already. So I only see great things for you, Cara.
Thank you.
And I'm honored to have you as my guest. And I am, even more honored that we stayed, at least we knew each other.
Yeah.
I met you in November of 2015, and then I haven't seen you since. And then I reached out to see how this journey of yours is going. And here we are today, hearing some great things coming out of Cara. And I look forward to continuing to watch your journey and potentially having you back as a guest.
Yeah.
Especially when you make that Olympic team. And so you could tell us how the Olympics was in Tokyo, Japan, because that would be an amazing podcast.
I love the Olympics so much.
So I thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, this is Lori, and you can catch us here every Monday for a new podcast and a new guest. Have a great week.